till we belong to each other. So Ernest Holmes, in his book Pray and Prosper, says, Jesus said, "Judge not according to appearances. That is, do not be confused by the conditions around you. The waves may be turbulent and the boat tossed. This appearance is real enough, but do not be confused over it. Be still and know that I am God." The inner spirit is proclaiming its own nature. It's announcing its own program. So think about that. The waves may be turbulent. The boat may be tossed. He probably wrote that in the 1930s before social media and the news that's on 24 hours, and it's on your cell phone and it's on your computer. Now just imagine when you see an event, and it's yours, you see it, and then everybody starts to interpret that event for you. We are always calling out to each other. We are calling out to each other for love. And sometimes that love isn't pretty. It doesn't look pretty because the only way we know how to call out for it is to express it through anger or through disappointment or through judgment. Each one of us is always seeking love. That's the truth of who we are. That is what we're seeking. And yet we get so caught up in our conditions. We get so caught up in what we're told to think and how we're told to perceive things. So I remember back, gosh, has it been a year ago? Maybe so, that I went to the agent conference down in San Diego. And it lit a fire underneath me. The whole conference was about social justice. And it really lit a spark in me that that's why I'm here. That's what my ministry is about. If we can't do that as a community, if we can't talk about unfairness and how to make it fair, then what are we doing? You know, what are we doing? If you're going to judge Christians because of the way they believe, then why wouldn't they judge us? We don't have a packet that says this is the right way to do anything. What we're given is the opportunity to understand other people's narrative. And so what if all of this angst was just a knocking on our door? A knocking on our door that says, wake up. Wake up. Do something. Be kind. Be less aggressive. Do something. So the first thing to do is to listen. Do you know what an art form that is? To really listen to somebody when they talk to you? How many of you listen and what's going through your head while you're listening is what you're thinking of how you're going to respond? Exactly. We all do it. And yet to really listen when that happens, when you start to think, just take a breath and call yourself back to center and think, it's not that important what I have to say. How many of you share a story with somebody and instead of them saying, wow, that's really interesting, they say, well, you know, that happened to me too. And off they go with their story. I've done that. I think we all do it. It's called hijacking a conversation. To listen is to listen to somebody until they're complete. And maybe if you don't have anything brilliant to say something so easy like, wow, I understand. Tell me more. Give people an opportunity to be heard. So the first thing we need to do is learn how to truly listen to each other without our filters. So here's the deal about listening or seeing anything. And this is why policemen like multiple witnesses. We all see through the eyes we see from. And we all hear through the ears we hear from. Do you know what that means? It means all the filters that we've been given since we birthed onto this planet. That's how we look at things. So two people can see exactly the same accident, and somewhere between what each of them says happened, the policeman has to decipher, maybe there's the truth. Because they're going to see it differently. Be it an accident, regardless of what it is. You are going to see it a little bit different than the person sitting next to you. You're going to hear what I'm saying differently than the person sitting next to you, because you've all got filters. When I say the word God, some of you are like, no big deal. Others of you, absolutely, your bodies kind of go, whoa, I thought they didn't use that word here. Because some of us have baggage around a word that is just a universal description for something bigger than ourselves. That's all. I use it out of convenience. There is an energy, there is a substance, I believe, that is bigger than all of us that we're all birthed from. I call it God because when I say God, everybody here knows what I'm talking about. If I say quantum soup, then you might all be going, well, is she going to serve vegetables with that? Or what exactly is quantum soup? What does that mean? And so we need to listen to each other. And when you're listening, you look at somebody, you look at their facial expressions to find out. You can tell in a heartbeat when you're talking to somebody, ooh, I've gone way to the left with that person or way to the right. I've just lost them. It's a blank stage. Ooh, I've made that person really angry. You can see it in their eyes. And so the first thing we need to do is to listen. And then we need to open up the door. If it's ours to do. Mother Teresa said, not all of us can do great things, but every single one of us can do small things greatly. And that's why we're here. Every single one of us can do small things greatly. And so we open the door and we decide, what is mine to do? So one of the things that I've decided that's mine to do, and I hope some of you will join me, is that on December 2nd, we're going to go to Pacific and with Habitat for Humanity and work on a house for a homeless veteran. So it's from 8:45 until 4 o'clock, and there will be further announcements and a sign-up sheet. Habitat for Humanity would love it if you could donate $50 to join us, and if you can't, they're fine with that. They realize that some people, their time is the most precious thing they can give. And so if you're interested, next Sunday I'll have a sign-up sheet, and then we'll have a website that you go to sign up directly. So there are different things that we can do, and now we're going to get a little uncomfortable. So how many of you in this room have a birthday in the year 1960 or after? That's what I thought. History has a funny way of kind of repeating itself. So in 1968, the Olympics were held in Mexico. The 200-yard dash was won by Tommy Smith. Second place was an Australian man, and third place was John Carlos. Tommy Smith and John Carlos were black men in 1968 America. When they played the national anthem, these two young men had the courage to stand on their platform, face their flag, and with black gloves on their hand, raise their arm up in protest and stand there through the whole national anthem. Many people assumed that this was a Black Panther symbol, because at that time, this is what the Black Panthers did. And yet what the news failed to tell us was they also had on armbands for human rights and humanity. Because we only hear We see what we see, and then we make up a story. And don't think newscasters don't do the same thing. They make up stories because they want us to believe what they believe. Cannot CNN and Fox News tell us the same story, and yet they sound different? And so I want you to consider today what our NFL players are doing. How many of you kneel? Come on, nobody in here kneels for any reason? When do you kneel, Barb? When you propose to your wife. When else do you kneel? When you pray. When else do you kneel? In the garden. You kneel in front of the Queen of England. You kneel when you're knighted. You kneel when you surrender. And yet our news has made this about the military. This was never about the military. I saw a great little post on Facebook that I borrowed saying that the NFL's players kneeling is about the military, is saying that Rosa Parks sitting on that bus was about transportation. It was not. It was not. People are knocking on our door. And as a community, there's a lot that we can do. I don't even know where to begin. Except maybe it's with kindness. How many times do you walk by a homeless person and because you don't want them to ask you for money, you don't look at them? You walk by like they're not there. How many times do you walk by a group of young men, and I think in this instance probably regardless of their color, but if there's more than 4 young men and you walk by them, you're either going to walk with a lot of, but you're not going to say a word, or you grab your, if you're a lady, you grab your purse a little tighter, kind of put your head down and walk on past. That's all fear. We're afraid of each other. We are afraid of each other, and we can't heal anything unless we stop being afraid of each other. Are there things out there that are scary? Yes, there are. And some of us may have encountered that at some time in our life. And yet, not everybody out there is a scary person. Have you ever said hello to a homeless person or God bless you and watched their face just light up like you actually just handed them that $5 bill they were asking for? I'm sorry, I don't have cash today. You have a blessed day. And it's like, what, you saw me? We have to shift the culture in this country. And why do I get to talk about it on Sunday morning from up here? Because this is what we teach. And I think that if I don't talk about it, I'm not being a good minister, because I'm telling all of you, oh, we're all one, except for those people. They're not one. I forgot about them. Oh, and then there's these people over here. They're not one. Ernest Holmes says it's not 7.5 billion people. It's one. It's one life. It's God's life, and it's perfect. And we get to play in it. And it's how we show up that matters. How are you showing up? Who are you being unkind to? And yes, just so you know, I am doing better in my car. You can ask Cynthia and Joy. They actually went round trip with me, and I think I did well. I'm doing better because I've become very conscious of the fact energy is energy. Energy is energy. And what happens is it doesn't mean that I don't notice some of those people on the road. They're still there. And instead of spewing stuff all over them, I take a big deep breath. Aren't people funny? Aren't people funny? So it's just a matter of knowing that if we are here every Sunday and we're talking about oneness and we're going to read the declarations, probably not all of them every Sunday. I think we'll take them in fours. That was a little long for me. Anybody else think that was a little long? Okay, good. Whew. Okay, we'll do them in fours because there's usually 4 weeks. Yay. Anyhow, sidetrack there, squirrel moment. It's okay. But if we're going to teach this, if we're going to come to classes and talk about oneness and what Ernest Holmes teaches and how we're all created from this quantum soup, if we're going to talk about that and live that and be that, then we have to quit saying people are wrong because we don't understand what they're doing. Because we want to believe what the newscasters tell us or what a friend tells us, instead of understanding that people are being killed in this country and the people doing it are getting off, and it needs to stop. If we're one nation under God, that's everybody. That's everybody. Nowhere in the Pledge of Allegiance, in the Declaration of Independence, or any other document out there does it necessarily, I'm trying to think, somebody might come up and say, yes, it does. It doesn't divide us into colors, folks. What it divides us into is everybody's a he. I don't know how they were procreating back then, but everybody's a he. And you got to kind of be good with that because they're not going to rewrite those documents. It was language back then. However, one nation under God, one. Get it? One. We're all one. I don't get to decide who you love. I don't get to decide where you want to go to church. I don't get to decide if you want to kneel or stand during the national anthem. This country gives you the right to do that. And then to make up stories why people are doing it, to me, makes me personally angry. It just makes me angry because people won't listen. And we are becoming so divided. And Moses isn't here. So we're going to have to do this walk together. We're going to have to reach out. And if you hear somebody say something, you're going to have to ask questions. Why do you believe that? Why do you think that's so? That's the knock. And there is no better community to do that than a community that professes that we are a spiritual community founded on unconditional love. If we're going to be that community, then I challenge each one of us to show up as that every single day. Every day. Show up as that. Some days are going to be better than others. It's part of the 4 agreements. Do your best. Some days your best is going to not look that great. Give yourself a pass and say, do over. Because that's the beauty of this life. Everything that happens in the now, in the next moment, is gone. You can apologize for it. You can make amends for it. You can't get it back and change it. So I'm asking each one of us to wake up. Wake up. Because we are living in a society where the conditions look challenging. And it's an opportunity for each one of us to really show up as our best. To really be there for each other. Do you know that Burien, Washington is one of the most diverse cities in the state of Washington? I just read that in The Stranger. Yes, I read The Stranger. So there are people out there that live in Burien that felt they were safe, and now they don't. And now they don't. We need to let people know they're safe. We need to let people know that they're God-informed and that we love them. So let's just take a deep, big breath. Knowing that we're living right here and right now in this quantum soup of the divine, this place where we get to play, to have our existence, to say yes to all that is. That one life, that life that is perfect, that life that is God's life. It's my life, it's your life. It's everywhere. Everywhere we go, everything we do is standing in the truth of that one life. One. We are connected. Heart to heart, soul to soul, mind to mind. There is no separation. There is just that thing itself. And so it is in that I call forth that place of knowingness. I truly am my brother's keeper or my sister's. I truly am that place of knowingness that says yes to all people everywhere. And when we disagree, I choose to listen. Defenses down, heart open, ready to receive. Knowing there is nothing more powerful in the world than coming from that place of love. That is who we are. That is who we have claimed from the birth of this community. A spiritual community founded on unconditional love. In Dance with the Divine, we go forth, and for that I am so grateful, and spread the love, spread the joy, spread the compassion, and for that I just say thank you, God. Thank you for this day, for this community, for this openness, for this way of being in the world. Always doing our best, turning it over, letting it go, letting it be, saying thank you, God, and so it is. Amen.